Assalamu alaikum. As I think it was Hannah said, and Hannah, we've known each other like 16 years, by the way. As Hannah said, I started homeschooling in the previous century, the mid-1990s to be exact. I have 3 kids. We started homeschooling in Wisconsin, and we started homeschooling not because the schools where we lived were bad. It was just the opposite. The schools were excellent. And I felt very safe sending my kids there. It was because we had a different idea. And my husband was 100% on board from day one about homeschooling. And we had a different idea. And the people I homeschooled with, there was only one other Muslim family. The rest was a very eclectic group of people of all different faiths and socioeconomic standings and the whole thing. We had this idea. We were passionate. We had this exciting idea. We were on the cutting edge of an educational revolution in this country. We felt this deeply, that we were the vanguard. We were going to be the edge of this idea, that we could get rid of the drill and kill. We could get rid of the textbooks. We could get rid of boring children to death. We could get rid of diagnosing all these children with ADHD, and that's a real thing, by the way, I'm not saying it's not, but all these children, especially boys, who can't sit still for 8 hours in a classroom, therefore there must be something wrong with them, they need medication. Okay, we were on this edge. We were going to be teaching in a new way. And it was so exciting. It was just, we got together, we had co-ops together. There were no textbooks. Actually, there were no textbooks. Nobody would sell them to us, which I consider to be a very good thing right now. We didn't have curriculum. What we had was each other and good libraries. And we would get together and we had, regular gatherings, and we would decide on projects we were going to do. We would reach out, for example, to, the School for the Deaf and said, can you send us an American Sign Language teacher? And so all of our kids learned ASL for a few months. One of the guys in our homeschool group was a glass blower for a living. So he taught all of our kids to blow glass without one single burn, by the way, too. And so this is what we know. This is the kind of thing we did. And then we moved. We moved to South Florida. And I found almost the exact group. I was the only Muslim in that group, and really seriously interesting group of families. And we did the same kind of thing. It was the same attitude. It was, as what is your name again? As Hannah had said, we felt like we were really going towards something. We weren't worried at that time about our kids getting shot in school. We weren't worried about them, being exposed to all sorts of ideologies that, are not in alignment with Islam. But it was not that reason that people were taking their kids out and homeschooling them. It was because we had this idea of education, which was just completely different. And so then we were there for, quite a few years. And then we moved to California. And we're way up north. And again, I was the only Muslim homeschooler. Then I moved a couple other places in California and met a whole bunch of Muslim homeschoolers. And everything changed. Everything changed. Because I ran into people who were, the best intentions, but they were stressed, they were cranky, they were afraid, and it was just a whole different world. And so it was kind of like, wow. And I had people telling me, said, Sister Mariya, I'd say, God, this should be fun. This should be a joyous experience in your family. Because as everyone has said, this is not just a you and your kids. This is a whole family project. This is a way of life. And so it was a very, very different experience for me. And so my kids are all grown now. I haven't homeschooled actively in 10 years, except for my, kind of helping out once in a while with the grandkids. But, for me, it's been one of my missions is when I talk to people, try, if I can, with Allah's help, to instill the possibility that there can be joy in your homeschooling. There doesn't have to be stress. There doesn't have to be fear. There doesn't have to be, what do we pick for a curriculum? Because if we get the wrong one, we're stuck with it because we've spent $600. I will tell you, you don't need a curriculum. You don't need textbooks. I'll say it again. You do not need a curriculum. Your 5-year-old does not need a curriculum. Your 5-year-old needs you, your kitchen, maybe the local park, the local library, some good friends, and that's that'll take you through pretty much to high school. So, alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed me and my husband. Our kids are, as I said, more or less normal. They all got accepted into top colleges. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. They all graduated with honors, with undergrad degrees. They all went on and did something after their bachelor's degrees. One's a physicist, one is a project manager, and the baby is, and everyone please right now, take 2 seconds, make dua for him. He's in his last year of his PhD up in Washington, and he's in sciences, and you know what the government is doing to the science grants right now. So his budget and his grants are just being cut. So please make dua for him. But just, if nothing else, just look and see what kind of joy you can bring to your homeschool. And, it can be there. It can be there, and it can just change how you wake up every morning. And those middle of the night panics when you're like, oh my God, what are we doing? But anyway, that's it.